Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about Mercury retrograde. So currently, as I'm recording, we are in a retrograde. So I thought that it would be a really wonderful time to share with you all how I feel about the retrogrades, what they can mean for each of us, and how to really make them work for us, because I know a lot of people fear retrogrades, but they're really not that bad and there are plenty of benefits. So first of all, Mercury is the planet that rules various kinds of communications. So this can include speaking, listening, all electronic forms of communication. So, this podcast, texting, emails, social media, you name it. Mercury covers learning, how we process, editing, researching, and negotiating, as well as siblings, our community, the neighborhood, mobilization, including vehicles, and again, anything electronic. That's a big one. Some other things that Mercury rules that are really important when we're considering a retrograde are contracts, agreements, and important documents. So during this transit, we can expect miscommunications, perhaps disagreements, misunderstandings, missing paperwork, and just general clumsiness and just annoyances. And I'll share what some of those look like, because usually it's nothing really big and life-changing. It's just annoyances. So I went to get lab work, for example, and the date on the lab work was way in the future, and so I couldn't get my lab work, and my doctor made an error and had to, or maybe not even an error, just a misunderstanding that I actually wanted to go earlier, and so we had to change the lab date. So just little things like that. So I couldn't get it done when I wanted. So a lot of people who don't understand Mercury retrograde will get very frustrated because there's just these little annoyances, but I just laugh at them now because I expect them. We also experience 3 to 4 Mercury retrogrades in a year. So we might as well get used to them because that's like half of our year. And those people with their sun, moon, rising signs, or just a lot of planets in Virgo or Gemini will feel the Mercury retrogrades more. But nevertheless, every sign will experience some influence from the planet going retrograde. Basically, when Mercury goes retrograde, the planet takes a nap. So anything it rules, which are all the things I listed above, become unclear and foggy, and we really want to double, triple check everything. So I always think it's really best to see what house Mercury is retrograding for each of us personally, because then we really know what area to pay attention to. But in general, we want to look at the sign, and that will be kind of how we'll experience it collectively. When Mercury is retrograde, we can expect people, opportunities, and things from the past to return. So this can be good or not so good, depending. So maybe you lost a pair of earrings and now you found them. Maybe an old friend reappears that you've really missed, or an ex reappears and you're like, oh, I don't want this person back in my life. So that could be maybe a little uncomfortable. It could also be like an old job opportunity comes back that you thought was lost, and now it's back on the table. We also want to consider anything with the word re in front. So revise, rethink, redo, remodel. I think I said rethink, rest, right? Rest is a huge one. Just know to not push forward, because first of all, the universe is going to block you. It's not going to work, and you're just going to end up being more frustrated. So if you're waiting for a callback, if you're waiting for paperwork, wait. Wait till Mercury goes direct. Or expect that if you are waiting for something during a retrograde, it's going to take longer, and that you might have to redo something, like maybe the paperwork was filed wrong or something like that, or it was lost and you might have to redo it. Just know that. But I've learned to really love Mercury retrograde because it's such a great time to relax. And, I am a Virgo with a Virgo stellium, and I say that. So it took me a long time to get to that point where I could just enjoy them, but it gives me permission to not push forward on things, to just chill, right? Because we live in the society that we're just go, go, go. And Mercury retrograde makes that very, very difficult, if not impossible, to do that and to push forward on stuff. So you never want to launch anything on a retrograde, nothing big. You don't want to like put your book out there or launch your website or start your business. I do have a lot of information about Mercury retrograde on my website. I will link that below on the actual page. So I have a little blurb on Mercury retrograde, and then I have some do's and don'ts. So if you guys want to check that out, you can do so. I now will get into each house, and I'm just going to go really quickly through what the Mercury retrograde in these houses could look like, and I will try to share any personal experiences that I can recall. So when Mercury retrograde is going through the first house, this house rules the self, like it's who we are. It's our self-expression, the physical body we are in, our image, who we are, how we identify, and maybe even like, our image, our brand. So you might be reevaluating something when it comes to your physical body. Maybe you are rethinking how you exercise, or, maybe you want to lose weight, maybe you want to put some weight on. It's also just about who we are. So, this is kind of vague, but it could literally be, how we identify. So maybe we identify as someone who's like a runner, but maybe now we're thinking of getting into CrossFit. Like I'm giving very superficial examples, but it could also be how we express ourselves. So perhaps if we're expressing ourselves in a way that we're not getting the feedback we want, we might be reevaluating how we present ourselves to others. This could be how we dress, right? So, for example, my partner has gone through this, and during that time, they got rid of all these old clothes and decided, that they wanted to look a different way and have a better image. And so they kind of revamped their wardrobe. It could also be someone who wears a lot of makeup going to wearing less makeup, or vice versa. Or, I want to, be more bohemian when I was more preppy. Like it could be anything like that. But those are just some examples. When Mercury retrogrades in the second house, this house is all about money. So this is our earned income. So the money we make from our job. It's our self-worth. So it's like the net worth in the self-worth house. It's our material possessions, so the things we own that are of material value. It's saving and spending. It's any type of money management. It's financial relationships and goals. So when Mercury is retrograding here, we could be reevaluating how we bring in an income. If we're satisfied with what we're bringing in, we could be revamping our budget. So maybe we realize we're spending too much, and so we're trying to look into a different savings plan. Maybe we're looking into new job opportunities and what, how they could impact our earned income and also our self-worth. So, money and self-worth are very intricately tied together. Some of us may think that shouldn't be the case, but that usually is the case for many of us. And so you might be reevaluating, how you feel about yourself. If you're someone who has a lot of material possessions, but you're finding that you're still struggling, you might be reevaluating that and like, do I really want these things? Do they do anything for me? Maybe you're thinking of selling a big material possession. Like maybe you have a car collection or something like that, or a really expensive collection of something that you're just like, this doesn't really serve me anymore. But for many people, they're just reevaluating budgeting, spending, and maybe even looking into bringing in some more income. If you have Mercury retrograding in the third house, this is what I call a double whammy, because the third house is ruled by Gemini. So you're going to feel this one. So basically everything that I've said for like the general retrograde, you're going to feel that times like 3 or maybe 10. So really be careful when it comes to communication, electronics, vehicles. And vehicles is like cars, boats, planes, anything with a motor in it. Short distance travel. So if you can, and that could be, across the state. If you live really close to another state, that could be just commuting within your community, your neighborhood, siblings, learning, school. Usually it's school at like a lower level than like university. It's our thinking patterns. It also rules early childhood education. So if you are a teacher who works in that, something like that might come up for you. But, things, communication will be more difficult. So really be mindful of what you say, how you say it. Double check that you're sending the right email and text to the right person. Expect electronics to just glitch out, break down. Do not buy, I don't recommend buying electronics or any really big ticket items on Mercury retrograde, but especially if you have it in this third house, you're going to have to return it. It's just, yeah. So if you do have to buy something, just save the receipt. Expect your vehicle to maybe need some work done on it. Expect, maybe construction in the way of your commute to work. So give yourself extra time. For some people, they might be reevaluating their thinking patterns. If you're someone who has intrusive negative thinking, you might be really reevaluating, how you're getting in your own way. There might be things with siblings coming up. So maybe if you and your sibling were out of touch, this could be when you and your sibling reunite. There just might be issues with siblings or issues with communications with siblings. So again, nothing crazy, but just annoyances. I always say if you do have a vehicle that needs work done on it and you've been procrastinating, get it done before Mercury retrogrades anywhere, but especially this house. Also know that anything you have to put out there, whether you're communicating, writing a paper, just know that you might have to redo something, or you might just feel more blocked in getting it done. Unless you are born with a retrograde, that might be easier for you. But just know that you might have to redo things a few times or just find it more challenging. If you have Mercury retrograding in the 4th house, this house is all about home, family, real estate, property matters, domestic matters. It's our emotions, and psychology, childhood psychology. It can also talk about the mother or the feminine, so someone who's a feminine energy in your life, or it could just represent the parents. And it's like the hidden part of your life because it's the hidden part of the chart, right? It's at the very bottom. So things here, again, it could be various things, but you could be rethinking a move. You could be rethinking your mortgage if you own a home. You could be looking into real estate. Definitely wouldn't be buying a house on a Mercury retrograde in the 4th house. I would be waiting. There could be issues with property matters coming up, or just domestic matters. And that doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could just be you're realizing that your family routine has gotten out of sync and you guys have to, establish some better routines within the family system or something like that. Maybe better boundaries. It could also be that some old emotions are coming up, like your early childhood emotions are coming up to be processed, or there could be some things coming up with your mother in particular, or your parents that need to be dealt with. So maybe your parents are in need of some support, or maybe they're going through something and you have to show up for them. So just again, nothing crazy, just some minor annoyances. Maybe you have to do some repairs around the home, and that's just annoying because, your kitchen's gutted out and you have to, eat out or something for, the next couple weeks. It could be something like that. So that is kind of just an overview of what a retrograde could look like in the 4th house. The 5th house is love, sex, pleasure, dating, romance, joy, hobbies, children, talent, creativity, sports, drama, theater. It's a really fun house. So when Mercury retrogrades here, some of these things might be up for review. So it depends on, where you are in your life stage. So if you are young and dating, or even older in dating, you might be reevaluating how you approach love and sex and dating and romance. You might be rethinking, do I want to go on dating sites, or do I want to, ask that person out at the gym, or, is my dating and love and sex life working for me? Does something need to change? Do I need to change how I'm showing up here? Maybe you're someone who hasn't had a lot of love and sex, and now you're reevaluating, maybe that's what's missing from my life. Maybe I need to, get back out there. You could also be reevaluating how you receive pleasure. I guess that could be sexual pleasure, but pleasure in terms of joy, the things you do just because you enjoy them. So your hobbies, your the ways you're creative. So maybe you pick up an old hobby that you stopped doing and you realize, I really love doing this. I love knitting on Friday nights. Why did I stop doing that? Or maybe it's a sport you picked up, re-picked up after stopping for years because of work and kids, and now you're realizing that this is something that brings you a lot of joy. You could also discover like an old hobby or creativity is like a talent during this time. And you might just be reevaluating things. Like if you are in athletics or, drama or theater, there could be things that come up for review or just little annoyances in those areas. But I mean, this one's not too annoying, I wouldn't think. I guess dating, if you are someone who's dating, I wouldn't expect to meet the love of your life on a Mercury retrograde. So if you are dating and you have Mercury retrograde here, just have fun, just enjoy it. Don't get too attached because, it may not last. And there might be something that you're missing because Mercury does try to kind of blind us a little to some things. We don't really see things clearly and we're not getting all the full picture. But overall, this one, what I have noticed for myself is that old hobbies and projects that I kind of put on the back burner come back into my consciousness and I start working on them and realize, how much joy they bring me. If you have Mercury retrograding in the 6th house, this is one of the other double whammy houses. And the reason is because the 6th house is ruled by Virgo and Mercury rules Virgo. So you're going to feel this one a little heavier. But again, nothing usually life-changing, just minor annoyances or things just coming up to review and rethink so you can, approach them in a different manner. So the 6th house is health, exercise, wellness, or anything or anyone related to those topics. So like this could be like a health practitioner. It rules diet, our daily routine, habits, our lifestyle, like habits, work, employees, specifically people who work for us, and then pets. So I've actually experienced this one not too long ago, and I work with a functional practitioner. And I was seeing them for my follow-up and I was getting some test results and we were revising my health plan. So that's all it was, nothing crazy. I've also had some issues with my pets come up where like I had to take one to the vet because, something was going on with them. And also with this, I realized that I was eating something that was causing me some flare-ups and just not agreeing with my body and had to revise my diet. For other people, they could just be reevaluating their daily habits. Like maybe you're realizing, I don't want to sleep in till 10 o'clock on the weekends. Like I could be getting so much more work done. And so you're reevaluating your lifestyle and your habits and you're making changes to make them suit you. So you could you could go back to an old exercise. So maybe you used to jog every Saturday morning and you're like, I want to get back into that because I like how I felt when I was doing that. You could be reevaluating your work routine. Maybe you have a job where you do things a certain way, but you're recognizing you're kind of working harder, not smarter. And so you're revising that as well. For some, they might be completely reevaluating their job and their work. And so if that's you, know that this is coming up for you, and I wouldn't make any decisions until the retrograde is over. So wait till Mercury goes direct. But if some of these things come up for you, I would just sit with them and see, how you feel once Mercury goes direct. Mercury retrograding through the 7th house is all about our one-to-one relationship. So typically we look at the marriage partner if one is married. This can also be a long-term partner, right? A live-in partner, a business partner, one-to-one friendships, and it also is contracts. And also like if you work in, like I'm a therapist, so this could talk about my clients, right? Because we are in a one-to-one therapeutic relationship. So there might be some communication glitches in these partnerships. So be careful, especially if you're in maybe a relationship where there already is communication issues or you're in a relationship that's not very healthy. Retrograde in the 7th house could be a little challenging, but it also will show you some things, right? Retrogrades aren't there just to tick us off. They're there to show us things that need to be changed or to help us become aware of something. So if you're in one of those partnerships where you have the same fight over and over again, that same fight's probably going to come up when Mercury's retrograde in that 7th house. And it's happening for you, so you can resolve it or decide to, maybe that this relationship is not working for you. Other things might be just the partnership reevaluating their goals together. It doesn't have to be bad. You could be revising a contract that you're in. So that could be related to work. That could be related to, a business partner. That could be related to just marriage in general. I recall having a Mercury retrograde in the 7th house. I am married, happily married. And it was just, there wasn't anything like devastating, but it was more about me recognizing how I'm showing up in that partnership and areas that I actually needed to change because I was not showing up authentically and not showing up like with love. Like I was showing up in ways that were, I think, perhaps causing a negative impact on the marriage. And so it was kind of for me to check myself, and I was self-aware. I noticed, this is how I'm showing up. I want to show up a bit differently, and I changed. So it could be something like that as well. When Mercury's retrograding in the 8th house is a very deep house. It's a very private, intense house. So this is intimacy and sex. So it's not sex like in the 5th house, which is for fun and, perhaps procreation, but it's also the house of, deep intimacy, right? Like connecting with another person, body, spirit, soul. It's also other people's stuff. So that could be their resources, like other people's money. So your spouse's money, your parents' money, and inheritance. It could be, loans, debt, also, property, anything that you own with someone. It's the stuff you own together or the debt you have together. It can also be other people's stuff in terms of their trauma, their psychology, but also your own. So therapy is under this house, deep psychology, and any taboo topics. So of course, sex, but also astrology, tarot, death, taxes, inheritance, all these things that most of us don't really like to talk about. So this could be reevaluating intimacy within a partnership. So you could be reevaluating, the relationship, and are you intimate, and are you connecting on that level that you're longing for? It could be reevaluating debt with a partner. It could be reevaluating an inheritance, right? Like maybe you get an inheritance and you're reevaluating what you want to do with it. A lot of times I also see old like traumas that haven't been totally worked through might come up again, and don't fear this. It's just coming up because maybe there's some things that need to be processed so they don't have to come up anymore. So seeing a therapist would be a wonderful time if you're someone who identifies as that, someone who's got some trauma and, maybe have some psychological issues that you're struggling with. For other people, it could be astrology, tarot. Maybe you're a tarot student or an astrology student and you're rethinking, how do you want this to show up in your life? Do you want to do this full time? Do you want to start making money from it? For some people, especially those who have like a fear of death, that could come up, and, just don't run away from it, process it, see a therapist. For some people who have overdue taxes, you could get that bill now, and that could be kind of annoying. So again, just little annoyances, nothing crazy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I think that kind of covers just the basics of the 8th house. But, for me, I would say a lot of it was just my own trauma, my own deep psychological stuff that was just coming up for me. So I had some conscious awareness of it, and so I could process it and, ultimately let it go. If Mercury is retrograding through your 9th house, this house is foreign anything. So we think of long distance travel, but foreign people, places, things, jobs, right? So maybe you work at like a foreign export place, or maybe you even work at one of those places that like get foreign, like art or something. It could be anything like that, but foreign language. It's also the house of higher learning. So think of like a university degree, like a PhD. It rules teaching, the legal system. So if you're like a lawyer or in law school, something like that could come up for you. It's also our morals and our perspective, our outlook on the world, our faith, our beliefs. So spirituality and religion are under here, as well as mentors, gurus, and publishing. So lots going on in this house. I know I'm coming up. There will be... Have I experienced this? I think I have experienced this, and I think I'm going to experience it again pretty soon. But we are planning on going somewhere that is considered foreign to us. And so we might be, revising some plans when it comes to travel, maybe having to make some changes when it comes to travel. A huge thing I see with the Mercury retrograde here is revising our outlook and our beliefs on life. Like maybe we learn something and it changes the way we look at life. Maybe it changes our faith. We might be questioning our own spirituality or religion. Or maybe we're questioning the mentor or guru we're getting information from. Maybe we're kind of questioning their teachings. If you are in university, there might be some things you have to, maybe your paperwork didn't go through properly. Maybe you have to, redo a class or something. It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like redoing a class, but maybe your payment doesn't go through or something, or the scholarship you're waiting for is delayed. So those are just some examples. If you are in the legal system, there might be, or like if you're in a lawsuit, for example, there could be delays in that if the retrograde's in the 9th house. I wouldn't book a foreign flight. I wouldn't book a flight at all during Mercury retrograde, but if you're planning on going away somewhere foreign to you, and foreign is just whatever foreign is to you, I would wait till Mercury goes direct, because those plans might likely change. And just know that if you are questioning your belief, spirituality, religion, that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and just to sit with it. And again, just wait till Mercury goes direct and you'll have some more clarity. When Mercury is retrograding in our 10th house, this is the most visible house. So this is our career, our reputation, our our image. It's what we're known for. So even if you're retired or you just don't work, it's what you're known for. So maybe you're a stay-at-home parent, maybe you're a grandparent. It also rules authority and authority figures. So that could be a father or a father figure, or any type of masculine energy. So it could be a man, but it doesn't have to be. It could also be a woman with that energy. So I am actually in this retrograde now, and what has come up for me quite unexpectedly was I'm rethinking my career. Not necessarily my career, but I'm rethinking my job, and I'm considering another option that has come into my consciousness. So I'm just rethinking that, and how do I want to be known in my career? What special, I'm a clinical therapist. What kind of specializations do I want? And a lot is coming up for me there, and nothing scary, just some rethinking, reevaluating, and I'm going to sit with it until it goes direct before I make any decisions. So that is one way it could be showing up for you if you also have this. It could also be, there might be some miscommunication with authority figures. So just be very careful, especially if you work for someone who's a little difficult, or that you don't really communicate well already. Be very careful with your communication. Maybe save those important conversations for after the retrograde. If you want to ask for a raise, or if you're like complaining about someone in your work who is an authority, I would wait till after the retrograde, because things are just going to go a lot smoother. You're going to get your words out clearer. For some people, there might be some issues with the father or father figure. Maybe your father needs you. Maybe some old daddy issues are coming up to be reviewed for healing. It could be that as well. If you have Mercury retrograding in the 11th house, this house is all about, it's the humanitarian house, as I call it. So it's social causes. It's any type of group you belong to. So this could be a sports group, just the group like you belong to at work, right? So I work for a company. I'm in this group. It could be, a political group. It's also friendships and our long-term hopes and dreams. And it's also gains. So it's the house of gains. So I'm also experiencing this from another angle in my chart. And I, at this time, what I've recognized is I am reevaluating my long-term hopes and dreams and gains. And that is actually connected to my career. Again, nothing scary. It's actually quite exciting, but I'm realizing that some of those dreams I've wanted are changing. And, I still have dreams, but now they're becoming something different, and I'm reevaluating those things. Some people might be reevaluating friendships. So especially if they're toxic, you might have some communication issues when Mercury is retrograde, or if you've had some discord with a friend, it might come up during the retrograde. So you can either solve it or just decide to go your separate ways. If you do belong to like a social group, or, Habitat for Humanity or something like that, or any political group, your communication is going to be difficult. If you're trying to make a speech or, go to legislation or something like that, know that it might be more difficult to get your words out, and you might not get the outcome you're looking for. So maybe wait till Mercury goes direct for those types of things. But overall, I would say a lot of people with this will be reevaluating friendships, their long-term hopes and dreams, and perhaps changing them a little. If you have Mercury retrograding through the 12th house, so this house is a murky house. It's the subconscious house. So it's, while the 8th house rules trauma, that's the trauma we're aware of. The 12th house is the trauma we're not aware of, but that may be controlling us unconsciously. So this could be through addictions. It could be, you know, through our dreams. This house does rule dreams. It also rules losses. It talks about spirituality, meditation, yoga, healing, and any work in hidden institutions or that serve those in need or help people heal. So that might look like shelters, rehab centers, hospitals, prisons, ashrams. So if you're a nurse, maybe something's coming up for you in your job, right? So typically we would think, you know, the second house would come up, or the 10th house for career or money. But if you do work in a hospital or a rehab center as a nurse, maybe there's something coming up for you with work in terms of that area. In terms of, this house. So a lot of times what I see with this is our dreams are pretty profound. So I encourage people to write their dreams down, especially when they have transits through the 12th house, because there might be some pertinent information there. A lot of people might start to realize that, you know, they're noticing some behavior tendencies that they're not really sure where they're coming from. Like, so this can be addictions. Addictions can be anything from substances to sex to people to, you know, dating. It could be anything. It could be shopping. So this is a really good time also to seek out therapy, especially if you're struggling with any of these things. And maybe you're someone who is is someone who's recovering from an addiction, and then it comes back up again, or you're triggered again. This would just be a really good time to process that. So, you know, meditate, go do yoga, go to some of these healing modalities. So maybe you want to go to an ashram or a rehab center, and I mean, that's okay. Mercury's just bringing it up because something needs to be dealt with here. You also could just be reevaluating if you're a very spiritual person, you could be reevaluating your meditation routine. Maybe you used to meditate a lot and now you don't, and you want to get back into it. I do find people who have started implementing a meditation program on a retrograde, they tend to fall out of it. And then when Mercury retrogrades again, whether it's the 12th house or not, but especially the 12th house, they find that they're more disciplined in that meditation program again. So it's kind of interesting. So it could just be something like that. But I would say journal. I would say anything that comes up, process it. The Mercury brings things up that maybe we didn't know. So maybe you're learning something new about yourself. Or maybe, you know, a trauma that you thought was over and gone has resurfaced. So this is a really good time to just a lot of self-care, a lot of self-love, and to engage in some form of spiritual practice. So that sums it up for the Mercury retrogrades in each sign. I wanted to make it really quick in each sign, but of course, I mean, we could talk about each house for an hour and different ways that it can show up. And of course, you have to look at Mercury retrograde in your chart and the other aspects it's making. So I hope that was helpful, educational. If anyone wants to share how they're experiencing Mercury retrograde now, or how they've experienced any of these, I'd love for you to share, because I want this to be a platform where other people can learn and get some guidance of, you know, what did Mercury in that house look like for you? So please feel free to share. Please comment, like, subscribe. And if you want me to post any specific videos, I'm totally open to those ideas. So take care, and I will see you for another video.